Mogaji is with us this morning. He's an agro-business startup and turnaround expert. Good to have you on the show.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good to see you.
Same here.
And I like that no farmer, no future.
No future.
Yes, no farmer, no future.
Do we really appreciate that? Do we understand that, both at the government level and individual level? The president not too long ago said we need to produce what we eat and eat what we produce. Over the years, we've had all kinds of catchphrases: Green Revolution, Operation Feed the Nation. Anchor borrower is the one that seems to be the buzzword right now. Tell us how far so far.
Well, I will say Anchor borrower is a brilliant idea that is currently well implemented. In the last administration, you had a lot of money pushed into the sector without relevant controls. But this administration, both government and the CBN, now have pushed funds into the sector and put around it controls to ensure that it gets to the right people. And that's why, if you ask the CBN, bulk of the funds available to them is still not disbursed because the right people are not even going there to access the funds. Now, for the first time in a long time, the funds are available. The political farmers and anchors and co cannot access it, and the real players are also shying away from it. So there's a huge vacuum there.
So how do you think that vacuum can be removed, really, for farmers, especially the smallholder farmers, to benefit, because it's anchored on them, really?
You know, I was in Gombe 2 weeks ago when the CBN flagged off the rice irrigation scheme. And there was, they put the money on the table. But
Literally.
Literally. One of the things they did, and I'm really happy for the first time in over 2 decades, I'm happy that there's a minimum balance that the banks, the farmers ought to have in their account. Now CBN says, okay, fine, we are aware that they may not even have the money. So we won't ask you to put the money in the bank. We will still give you all the inputs required through service providers.
Yes.
And the cash you're supposed to put lump sum, which is meant for labor, maybe a labor for spraying, for irrigating and co, you would pay it from your purse as you need it. So CBN, in its implementation of this Anchor Borrowers program, has taken off bulk of the bottlenecks that the farmers, that can block the farmers, impede the farmers from accessing those funds. But right now also, with all the campaign and advocacy that CBN is doing, the farmers don't even have this understanding.
So these 250,000 farmers that are said to have benefited from the Anchor Borrower Scheme, 55 billion disbursed so far.
Yes.
Where exactly are they?
Well, spread across the nation.
Yes.
Now, for the brilliant thing about the Anchor Borrower is that, unlike before where someone can just access the money, now it takes NISA, CBN, like Ministry of Agriculture, farmer, Anchor, the Anchor, who's going to take the thing, and insurance. There's what is called a project management team. Okay. The 5 or 6 of them must agree on who supplies what. So if you want to, play the unethical way, you can't get through to the 5.
All right, I want you to even explain to us so that we know how it works, because I understand that the SHF, the smallholder farmer, in essence, could access the fund maybe by supplying the produce to pay his loan and then the interest, right? Please explain.
Basically, the Anchor Borrower, now it's been going through a bit of packaging and repackaging, but basically is CBN wants to increase production across the value chain, production and value addition.
Yes.
So they will make this lump sum of money available through CBN to some banks, through participating banks. So the farmers come together in clusters to open accounts in those banks if they don't have it. 1, you need a BVN. 2, things have gone digital.
Yes.
So now there's a service provider who comes to map your farm, puts it online, so no one else can use that particular line. So you can't claim you have 10 hectares when you actually have 1. The system is loaded on the system. So outside that, you now agree, okay, the Anchor goes to look for the farmers. aggregates them, brings them to a bank, and from that bank, CBN comes in, NISA comes in, Agric Insurance comes in, the bank comes in, the Farmer Association comes in, and...
what about the non-interest financial institutions that are said to be within the same group?
They will operate as a bank.
Okay.
Like you can have an individual, any of those brands. So they will also operate as a brand of a bank, disbursing the money through them. Okay. So right now, you find all these 5 or 6 project management team go together to inspect projects. So it's not business as usual.
So it's a watertight system. That is working.
It's working.
But can we really say, when it comes down to it, that we're really seeing a lot of difference with the Anchor Borrower program and the bigger picture, that revolution that is needed or required in the agricultural sector is really ongoing?
I will fault the Ministry of Agriculture now for not putting the information to the farmers. They have the network, they have the extension agencies, even though they don't have enough, but they already have the system. So they're supposed to go and educate those people, the farmers, that this is available, come and access it. That is where the gap is. The CBN can only do it through banks. They can operate through banks, through NISA, and they are doing that part. So the Ministry of Agriculture needs to get on board. The Ministry of Water Resources, also who have large hectares of land and farmers, also need to say, hey, this is available, go for it. So we're not feeling that effect yet. But I'm certain this year with the tomato prices that's going to jack up in another 3-4 months, CBN is putting something together.
You said that with a smile on your face.
I've done this I've analyzed this for 8 straight years.
Okay.
And my prediction has been 99%. So it's still going to happen. I'm happy because we are planning to leverage on it.
Because of the
weather, and so you make serious money and you can relax.
But then, like you just talked about the ministry, which is supposed to be like the controller of this to make it happen. If it's still not living up to its expectation, you think that the gains would be sustained?
It will, because in the history of Nigerian agriculture, we now have a lot of private sector professionals and young graduates, and not even graduates, who are actively looking into the opportunities available in the agricultural value chain.
Yes.
So if ministry doesn't catch up, they will become irrelevant. Because there are private sector operators now who are doing what the ministry is supposed to do. Duro Partners is providing resources to farmers. Farm Crowdy is providing finance to farmers, and I was a co-founder of Farm Crowdy also. Okay. You know, so bottom line is you have a lot of private sector initiatives coming in to choke out the ministry.
Are young people attracted to this particular project? I mean, I recall listening to radio not too long ago, and this 26-year-old young lady, you know, says, look, I can proudly say I'm a millionaire because I'm involved in, you know, agriculture and the value chain, you know, and all of that. Like, she is a good example of what agriculture could really do.
I think Nigeria needs to focus more on women, because we're getting more results with young women coming in. The zeal and the commitment they are bringing in, you know, is huge. And you find that they are successful, good records, everything. So today we have more youths, especially women, stepping into the industry and doing it well. There's a lady in Marina who packages snails in Marina car park and sells hugely. The packaging is good, her packaging is good. You buy her and buy the product. What I'm saying now is that we need to focus more on women, pay a bit less attention to the men, because we need results.
Why? Why is that? Are the men diverting the
men are diverting.
Maybe marrying more wives?
No, not the men. Every new opportunity. The average youth in Nigeria today is looking for big hits.
Yes.
And so they are distracted fast.
So women are goal-driven, determined.
Yeah, they want to get it done.
Go through the process.
Yeah, there are a couple of young guys too who are there, but we need to focus more on women because we need to feed the nation.
Okay,
now.
yes, and it seems that a lot, what has been achieved now is just like, we could say it's just 10% that is supposed to be achieved in standard setting, really. Because if you look at the example in Indonesia, where about roughly 241 tractors are being used for at least 100 hectares of land. But in Nigeria, it's sad reality, about 10 tractors for 1,000 hectares of land.
And the gentleman in our report earlier says some states don't even have a tractor.
So how do you mechanize? Because it seems that mechanized farming is not even
Let's put things in proper perspective. You will always hear the truth from me. Southwestern states have not been really responsible in terms of the government, most of them. Now, I know the man that just spoke, the cassava growers president. Now, when they provide these tractors for Southwest, the truth is they redeploy these tractors to the north. So the tractors meant to work in Southwest will be redeployed to the north, where they have a lot of tractors and need more. And
why
they're willing
is that?
to
Is
pay.
it because the average young person in the Southwest is not even ready to go to the farm?
Even the farmers who are farming,
the
corruption of some, not all, public servants, they redeploy these tractors out. I remember during Oyinlola's administration, he bought about 300 tractors. He distributed it to different local governments. 2 weeks later, the tractors were in Oyo State working.
So is it because maybe there are fewer lands, arable lands in the South?
There are not fewer lands. You see, when, and I always like to put things in proper perspective. When the northern leaders know that agriculture is our bedrock, they fund the tractors, they fund the tractor fertilizers, they make life easy for the farmers. The Southwest, we are extremely educated and gradually going hungry. So our education, which is meant to utilize high-tech equipment, most of the state governments in Southwest, East, and apart from the North, are still paying lip service to agriculture, vis-a-vis the potentials they have and the potentials they met.
Lagos partnering with, for example, Kebbi State, and just yesterday he had a summit with Kano. Huge potentials, really partnering.
Like I said, proper perspective. You will expect that Lagos State should be behind because they don't have the land mass. But guess what? Lagos is at the forefront in Southwest. There's an anchor borrower for fish that the governor is pursuing with the CBN governor, which is going to start very soon. So Lagos should be behind that. We have revenue, we have tax, but when you aggregate it in the Southwest, Lagos are the front. So we need...
What about a state like Ondo, where Godwin Emefiele, the CBN governor, announced this, disbursement so far, the 55 billion, where the Greenfield, project, the poultry project is, was launched. Aren't they doing...
Ondo's, the administration in Ondo is still new.
Okay.
And one thing I give to Governor Akeredolu is that he's signing MOUs. It's private sector driven, not business as usual. So what he's doing is getting professionals in to sign MOUs and release lands, abandoned facilities. So he's new. So we will give him another 1 year.
All right. Okay. So, but generally now, under the Minister of Agriculture, Audu Ogbe, so far, who has been making efforts really in exporting some yams. Of our, example, yams, cassava.
Some went bad.
Yeah, you just had to put that in. Anyway, so would you say that he has done pretty well so far, since he said it years back?
He wants to be assessed after 3 years.
Just after 3 years.
Well, he said we should assess him after 3 years. This is 3 years. I strongly believe, based on field feedbacks, that the Vice President office needs to put a bit of warm stove, under the Minister of Agriculture to fully embrace what the government is making available. Ministry of Agriculture is not doing what it needs to be done, vis-a-vis the commitments, the political will that is available. It's getting a bit late. Though Nigeria will work miracles. These things can be done within 6 months.
Political will?
Political will. So it can be done, and I guess it will be done because it's also election year. That's why it will be done.
All right.
That's when funds will be pushed out, and
results will be...
We understand how that works.
African farmer Mogaji, thank you very much for your analysis. I like your name.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.